What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And if you're coming back for more, it's good to see you again. We were just on NBA Crunch Time. I'm the Luch, and I'm here with Keith Eister, the Iceman. What's going on, buddy? Long time no see.
Yeah, right. Back at it again. Just watching these games wrap up here. Rams in overtime and Cardinals Seahawks is a good one. Not a great main slate for me. I had some counter teams that were making some noise, but he left early with an injury, so no more sweating on that. But it's all right. We'll get it back on Showdown.
Yeah, I had an injury in all three of my power sweep lineups, and two of my lineups I had two. So I'm with you. And I know we both had Connor shares on our teams we were talking about, and a big game, can't complain. But
Yep.
I was on the wrong end of the Lockett Metcalf coin flip. I'm sitting in 31st in the power sweep. I think 17 points off the lead, and I had DK instead of Lockett. So I would have had a nice regular season end sweat, but I don't. That's okay, because we got Showdown, and we're still waiting on Grizzlies and Kings news for NBA.
Yep.
So we don't have that yet, folks. So stay tuned for that. Keep your push notifications on, and we're going to talk some Chargers and Raiders. Huge game. This is what primetime football is all about. Two West Coast teams that absolutely hate each other. But before we get into that, I'm going to drop some marketing stuff that I typically do. And by the way, Devin is our producer as per usual. Thank you, Devin, for all that you do. And we'll bring Devin on for his hot takes. And he's like the interception whisperer if you're just joining our show. So we'll see who Devin's going to pick off tonight in tonight's game. We'll see. But big news across the industry, across the country. New York sports betting, finally. I'm so happy for everybody in New York. Yeah, I spent some time in New York. I'm originally from there, and I have family there. And of course, we have a bunch of our colleagues here, like Dre and Britt, and a couple other guys who finally don't have to drive to Jersey or whatever they're doing, or go to the casino to put in bets. So it's about time, New York. Let's keep it this way. Sports betting's here, obviously. Hopefully for good. RotoGrinders has all the information you need. There's many links with descriptions, or go to rotogrinders.com homepage. Check out the sports betting tab, click on New York, and you can find a list of all the sports books with all the promo offers that they're dropping now. A lot of stuff, multiple books, a lot of really good promos, whether it's risk-free or deposit bonuses and what have you. So definitely you first-time depositors want to take advantage of some things that these books are offering. We don't have the YouTube chat anymore. We're on Discord here. Check out the live stream channel. Devin's going to kill me by the end of this thing because I can never remember what room we're in until I do or don't see messages. But check out the live stream channel where we do have a bulk of our shows. And of course, we have NBA Crunch Time and things like that, as you guys are used to, but we are no longer on YouTube. If you're betting on BetMGM, there is a bonus code. It's GRINDERSBET. That's all one word, GRINDERSBET. Bet $10 to get $200 instantly on BetMGM if your team scores a touchdown. And of course, RotoGrinders Premium. If you're not rocking with us by now, you're missing out. A lot of great premium content. And please do follow our daily fantasy football podcast feed. Love the audio we have. It's fun to kick off the week with food for thought with Chief and I, and Keith made some appearances on that. And Devin, when are you coming on food for thought? We got the green light to do it through the playoffs, so we're gonna have to find a mutual Monday night, Devin, to get the producers look on things. Maybe he's
sorry, I
ignoring
wasn't
me.
sure if
He
you were.
hates me.
I wasn't
He
sure if
hates
you
me.
were actually waiting for a response from me, but yes, no, that'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, especially with the Monday night games going away, that should make things a lot easier for everybody.
For sure. I do actually have a cool guest coming on tomorrow night when we record. Turns out the gentleman who won, I forget what best ball tournament was on DK. Maybe it was a 555. Whatever one paid $250K to first, ended up living 15 minutes from where I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Like, we go to the same KFC Taco Bell, and there's not many because we live in the boonies. So that was pretty cool. I saw his Twitter bio when he posted. I was like, Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania. How do I not know who you are? So that was cool. It'll be cool to hear. That had to be a rush I've never experienced, getting a best ball team that far. I had a couple of outs this year, and it didn't work out. Did you dabble in best ball, Keith, at all?
I didn't get in any this year. I played a little bit last year, but just didn't get around to it for the season.
Such a fun sweat. I love the debates, the no RB, the RB truthers, no RBs, like whatever. It's fun, and maybe I'll invest a little more next year. But check out Food for Thought and all of our premium podcasts. Anyway, I feel like I just talked way too much to get all that stuff out of the way. Let me hear your thoughts on this game. It should be a good one tonight.
Yeah, it should be a real good one. Playoff implications abound, right? Winner is in, along with the Pittsburgh Steelers, unless we get a tie, right? Which is a wild scenario. If these two teams tie, they're both in the playoffs. You see things floating on Twitter about, they're just going to kneel down. I'm not buying any of that narrative. Maybe you see a little bit more conservative game plan from each, but it just boils down to whoever wins this game is in the playoffs, and that's what they're going to be trying to do. 48-point spread, or 48-point total, 3-point spread, with the Chargers favored by 3 here. So I think we see a nice close game. Obviously, Waller coming back for the Raiders is a big deal that we need to talk about, how that affects Derek Carr and where his targets are going to go. The Chargers with the explosive offense, I think the Raiders can keep up here with Waller back. So I think we're in for a really good game here.
Yeah, it's just like there's so much unknown, which is fun because, okay, Waller's back. Is he going to play 50%? They obviously it's do or die, and they're going to get him out there as much as he can. But how much can he be out there? What's his pain threshold? Like, there's a lot of stuff behind closed doors that we just don't know. How will that affect Hunter Renfro's role? Zay Jones getting like 80% plus of the snaps. Brian Edwards playing a lot. It could be one of those things where, like, Waller's active, splits time with Moreau, and Moreau gets the, tight end 2 narrative touchdown or something like that. There's so many angles that there's so much unknown that, like, it's hard to completely disagree with anybody's take about how they're going to be used, because there's like, how are we supposed to know unless you're in the locker room or coach? We can give you our best speculation though. And of course, Josh Jacobs, we know the Chargers run defense has been picked on across the industry all year because that's kind of like a scheme thing. Jacobs was also dinged up too, Keith, correct?
He was, yep. He is active and should be good to go. The running back room for the Raiders is really thin since Kenyon Drake hit IR. They still have Peyton Barber and Jalen Richard, but I don't think they trust either of those guys. Jacobs has seen a nice role since Drake has hit the IR. And he has a pretty attractive price tag. So I think he's going to be very much in play here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, both teams battling health issues like most of the league. But of course, Austin Eckler was working his way back, and he played like almost 60% of the snaps last week. But Justin Jackson still had a role at 10 carries. I'm guess I got to bring up the tab, but I'm thinking he probably played 25-30% of the snaps, something like that too. So like there's so many ways you could build. Eckler absolutely smashed in this first meeting, and of course that is just game log hunting. But if you look at our Gridiron IQ tool, the Raiders throughout the whole year gave up a ton of fantasy points to opposing running backs. in past years, you would think maybe the Raiders really stunk and that was game script oriented and it was like second half ground and pound, but that kind of wasn't the case. You alluded to this high powered offense. Of course, they had a couple of duds and had their moments throughout the year, but more often times than not, the Raiders were competitive, at least for like 3/4, except for the 2 complete bombs against the Chiefs, pretty much, but they have just been giving up a ton of points to running backs. So just to kick off the conversation, I think Eckler's in a super interesting spot here. I'll let you lead the discussion. Do you want to go position by position, or should we go into captains first?
I think just an overview of captains is a good place to start. That's an interesting discussion with plenty of weapons on each side.
Cool. Well, if you don't mind me, I actually have FanDuel's lineup HQ on the screen share right now. And I know we get some FanDuel questions here, so maybe we can just kind of summarize what we're looking at here. And I know Carolina guys probably watching, and we appreciate you, buddy. And I know you're looking for contrarian captains, like most of us are. So you can see on FanDuel we have Herbert projected 26%, and that's not a surprise. He's projected to be the raw points guy, as he is in most games. Eckler behind him at 17%. Derek Carr, kind of the same captain ownership as well. Keenan Allen, the usual suspects here. And then you get into Josh Jacobs, sub 10%. And then it gets murky. How healthy is Darren Waller? Because he at times can be a raw point guy. And we're looking at 1% on FanDuel. And I don't think I'm going there. If I'm throwing 100 lineups, and I would gladly have a couple of shares of that. But if we're looking at Herbert's a great MVP play, obviously, for raw points. If we're looking at something different, what are your thoughts here? Like raw point, non-Herbert MVP on FanDuel, Keith?
The guy that jumps out is Josh Jacobs under 10%. Herbert, Eckler, Carr, all great. Obviously, the quarterbacks are going to project for the highest raw points. They make a lot of sense. Eckler being the favored running back with his role in the passing game, I think a great option as well. But I think Josh Jacobs is just as good of a play as all three of those. I mentioned his role has ticked up a little bit since Kenyon Drake hit the IR. And it's a tight spread. So if we see a situation where the Raiders are playing, they get the early lead, I think they could lean pretty heavily on Jacobs here. He gets the early touchdown, sees a lot of work with a lead. I think it could set up for Josh Jacobs to put up a big night.
Yeah, and you can run the ball on the Chargers. So we've seen it many times, and they want to lean on him as their horse as much as possible, right? It's rare you see 20 carry game logs games by anybody in the NFL anymore. You see some serious volume throughout this game log. Of course, didn't have a great game against the Chargers first time around, but things have changed, and Vegas projects this to be pretty close. And I think I agree with you. Just having that touchdown equity, dump it in a couple times. And if it's like a slower game, he doesn't even need 100 yards. If he has 2 touchdowns and 80 yards, there's a chance he's optimal on FanDuel.
Yeah, for sure. It's that touchdown equity that you mentioned. Obviously, with Waller back, Renfro probably takes a hit. I don't know if Waller's going to play his full allotment of snaps, but you'd think you have to ding Renfro a little bit. So Raiders pass catchers are tough. I would have interest in the Chargers pass catchers. Mike Williams is another very interesting low owned option. We've seen the big playability out of him. A red zone threat as well. Jared Cook is back, so maybe that's diminished a little bit, but Williams is still utilized plenty down there. I think he's a nice low owned option as well. Agreed.
And Derek Carr, anytime you can get a quarterback under 20%, I don't mind taking some whacks at that either. But I do like Austin Eckler a lot tonight. We'll get into that. Let me switch over to DraftKings here on the screen. Captain wise, what are you seeing here, ownership wise on your screen? Anything stick out to you for DK captain?
No, I don't think anything really sticks out. It's about as expected. Herbert leading the way, Eckler closely behind him, and Keenan Allen just behind him. I think the Chargers being the favorite, that makes sense. I think that leaves a lot of opportunity. We've mentioned the close spread a couple of times. These Raiders guys look to be a little bit underowned for just being 3-point underdogs at home. So you get a different game script where the Raiders are playing with a lead. I think that's a good spot to attack. As far as the Chargers guys, I pretty much agree with how the ownership is stacked up. Yep. In this situation, whenever I see a quarterback as the highest owned, I will typically take a fade stance on that. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback, has a huge ceiling. We know this, but I'm just going to play the ownership on that. I'll take plenty of shots on Eckler and Allen, and even Mike Williams, like I mentioned.
Yeah, but you mentioned some of these Raiders, and boy, we have Derek Carr coming in under 10% as a quarterback. Yeah, and I the matchup isn't fantastic, but it's not the steel curtain or anything like that. Like, the Chargers have shown they're very good in the secondary, but they have their flaws. And I'm with you. At times I was very impressed with this Raiders offense. Derek Carr at sub 10%. At home, like you said, I'm loving that, taking some tournament shots there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the ownership looks great. He's getting another weapon back, which makes it more difficult to play said weapons because we don't know how the targets are going to be distributed. Renfrow has had an awesome role without Waller, but does he take a back seat to Waller now that he's back? I think it's easier just to plug Carr in that top spot, and then play some of the pass catchers in the flex. So yeah, Derek Carr looks like an amazing option, sub 10%.
I agree. And he, there are games where he has locked onto Waller and that's it, but he kind of had to adapt to life after him this season. So he's found Zay Jones once in a while. Renfro's really coming into his own. And Bryan Edwards plays snaps. Like, that's about all I could say about Bryan Edwards. He wind sprints, right? But it could be any of those guys. Of course, you still have Desean for his, 20% snap share or whatever it's going to be, which always complicates a showdown sleep because he's always a home run threat. 10, 12 snaps is all he needs. Not comfortable, but we know who Desean Jackson is. So I think due to ownership, Derek Carr is, outside of Eckler, probably my favorite play on DraftKings. And I tell you what, though, we talked about per dollar, Josh Jacobs, the touchdown equity per dollar. I mean, he has arguably the highest touchdown equity out of anybody on the slate, and he is over $3,000 cheaper than Derek Carr. And look at that ownership. I think Jacobs is super interesting on both sides here. It obviously it's build dependent, but you can make a Jacobs captain team, not play Derek Carr, and maybe it's an uglier game, throw some kickers and maybe a defense. Defense is going to be super contrarian on this one too. So, wow. Yeah, I can't believe Carr and Jacobs are both sub 10%. This is, I thought maybe things would shake up a little bit as we got closer to kickoff here, but that wasn't the case. Darren Waller, obviously sub 10% as well. Is the savings enough to prioritize Jacobs over Derek Carr as a top captain play on the Raiders side?
Yeah, I touched on him on FanDuel. It's DraftKings here where he's really discounted. I like them both, and they're both going to be lesser owned than the three Chargers that we mentioned at the top too. So I think that Carr and Jacobs both are going to be my biggest overweight stance at captain. And the savings that you get with Jacobs is really useful. I think you can still play Carr with him too. I mentioned that Kenyon Drake injury.
Yeah.
Jacobs has received targets actually this year. I'm trying to pull up the log right now. I'm pretty sure he's received like four targets in like each of the last 10 or something like that. It's significant. Since Kenyon Drake's injury, his target share has really ticked up. Not something you're used to seeing out of Josh Jacobs, but he's had that role this year.
He's in the poor man's Leonard Fournette role. He was forced to adapt and get better. And if you guys pull up Gridiron IQ, by the way, if you're using all of our tools here at RotoGrinders, you'll see the sea of green on the Chargers rush defense side of things, which is typically good for running backs, i.e. Josh Jacobs. The Chargers are third in giving up rushing yards, first in yielding rushing successful plays, first in EPA rush. They're terrible. They're like bottom of the barrel in pretty much almost every metric you can look at. They're second worst in yards before contact. So It doesn't matter who's on the other side of the ball; they're getting blown off of it. Top 10 in 10+ runs given up. Herbert's flashy. The Chargers have all the skill guys. They make headlines on mainstream media. Like, Jacobs is in a fantastic spot here. I'm talking to myself into editing some stuff right now and maybe even going more overweight here. That's definitely going to be an unpopular build. Like, everyone wants to shoot out between these two teams. And typically we build that way, but it's not a super high game total, Keith, right? So very interesting spot here. Like you said, the involvement in the pass game now, man, I love Jacobs for tournaments, man. I can't stress that enough.
Another thing we touched on at the top is the playoff implications here. Like, I think both of these teams are going to come out a little bit conservative just because the game is so important.
Right.
I mean, I think Jacobs gets a really heavy load early, and they hope to get that lead. I don't know, just kind of some narrative thoughts there that maybe they try to slow it down a little bit. Hopefully they don't make any mistakes and things like that, and just hope the Chargers make a mistake.
No, it's totally possible. And maybe if we get to the fourth quarter, they say, hey, let's just draw this thing out, tie it up, and we'll go home and both get in. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's certainly interesting. Let's look. I don't know. Do you have the premium article handy? I'm gonna bring it up here as well. We could talk about some leverage spots here.
Yep.
And Alan has done a tremendous job this season with these Sunday Night Showdown articles, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. Just awesome information in these things.
Yeah, and, it's good to see the Chargers like the healthiest they've been in a couple of weeks. They were always missing at least somebody, or somebody wasn't up to speed. Like last week, they were missing Jared Cook. Keenan Allen, unsurprisingly, dominated the target market share. Mike Williams has just been a little all over the place. The previous week they were missing Eckler and Mike Williams. So like now everybody except Parham is pretty much back. Well, what kind of role do you think Justin Jackson will have, or will that diminish gradually as Eckler obviously I can't say keeps getting healthier, but we're almost at the end of the road here.
Yeah, no, I think he's a guy they want to keep involved. Eckler just isn't like a workhorse type of back. He's outstanding in the passing game. They use Justin Jackson to spell him between the tackles a little bit. I think that role is going to stick. I mean, Jackson has played really well. Eckler missed a game or two in there, and Jackson stepped up and played well. So I think he's a guy that continues to have a role. It's not going to be a huge like even split or anything, but he's going to get his 10 rushing attempts or whatever, and maybe a couple targets. So yeah, I have some interest in Jackson too as like a mid-tier value.
Yeah, he was in the free square week on Main Slate a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
and he's done exceptionally well. All right, let me pull up this Slate IQ article. Definitely check it out, NFL Slate IQ. Odds are if you're tuning in, you probably are very familiar with it. But if not, check out Alan Lem's NFL Slate IQ Showdown article. He's been doing the Sunday night ones, and it's a lot of good historical data and shows you where the leverage points are. And I'm looking at the builds, and there's a consensus favorite here. 3-3s seem to finish in the top 0.1% the most, but 4 2s and 2 4s are kind of close for the grand scheme of things. 3-3 seem to be the way to go tonight, though, and I can't disagree with that. I was landing on a decent amount of 3-3s, but it should make for a good slate with the variety of lineups that people are going to be putting in, because it looks like 4 2s and 2 4s are still getting some love.
Yeah, the 3-3 is the one that made sense. I mean, we talked about it being pretty evenly matched. You've got a short home dog, so that's always a situation where that game script could go either way. I think it makes a lot of sense to build pretty balanced here. I found myself on quite a bit of 3-3s as well, and almost no like 5-1 type of builds.
I cannot see this thing being a total onslaught one way or the other, so I think I agree with you. And let's see, let me check out the positional breakdown. Wide receiver 1, we've seen it so much, seems to be the 0.1% leverage that people ask for. And eventually I think we're going to see that flip, because most of the articles and most of the data we have says typically wide receiver 1 is the way to get leverage in tournaments at your captain. But for example, look at Derek Carr tonight. I mean, he's not dead. He's not Peterman. He's Derek Carr. He's had a great season, and he's not getting any respect, and he's coming in super low. I'm not saying he's phenomenal at his job, but as a guy who can be the raw point scorer on any slate as the quarterback in a competitive game that Vegas is pegging this thing to beat, just kind of shows where the industry is at, Keith, in terms of like, I don't know. There's so many tools and resources available that I think people are starting to overlook quarterback more and more.
Yeah. On a game like tonight where Herbert has such a high ceiling, I think he's still gonna get played. And I do think he ends up being the highest owned captain.
Mm-hmm.
People struggle to play Keenan Allen too. They think he doesn't score touchdowns, and he's just kind of a yardage guy, who obviously is the one that fits into that wide receiver one that we're targeting. And then Carr, he just has a bad reputation. So I agree with how we have the ownership projector right now, making Carr an outstanding low owned option. As far as Keenan goes, I don't know. I think I'm fine being overweight on him. The leverage is still showing up there. I'm going to play plenty of Keenan Allen. It's Hunter Renfrow, the other wide receiver one, that I'm struggling with. I just feel like with Waller coming back, and I know like Renfrow has been really, really good and has had a true wide receiver one role while Waller has been out, but I am pretty concerned about Renfrow in this spot. Like he's priced up, and I think the ceiling is a little bit limited with Waller back in there.
Sticking with the Raiders and the unknown, and we can kind of just open-end conversation this thing until we start taking some questions in chat, is how much is Waller going to play? If I knew or had a crystal ball, I'd love to tell everybody. But, Moreau is still so cheap that if Waller splits 50%, if that's all he could handle, and we have Moreau coming in at, under 15% at 2,600, he could be an elite value on this slate. He has touchdown equity too, red zone guy. Carr seems to like throwing to him. I'm actually shocked he's not a little more expensive given the unknown circumstances and everything like that. I of course, the outcomes, Waller needs to not play 80% of the snaps. And I think there's a realistic outcome where he plays more like 65% of the snaps. So I think, if you're multi-entering 100 lineups or 50, maybe you have a couple different sets based on what you think Waller's condition really is. And if you're, in one set, if you think Waller is really hurt and might not play a ton, go overweight on Renfrow, go overweight on Moreau, and do the opposite on your set of builds where you think Waller is going to get all the pain medication he can handle before the game in the blue tent or whatever, and just go out there and play 90% of the snaps. I don't have a lean. I know it's do or die, but he's barely practicing in spurts. I mean, there's real reports out there saying he was doing 3 plays at a time. I don't know if I had to give a snap share guess percentage, and maybe I'll win the door prize, the pizza at the end of the night or something, but I would say 65 to 70 is fair, I think. And I know everyone wishes it was more, but that's my best guess. Should we have a little competition here? Do you have a number you want to give me?
I don't. So I just looked at his season snap share. It's about 81%. I think I'd take the over on 65, but definitely under the 81. So I'll go in the 75% range.
75%. Okay.
I think he's pretty much a full go here. Even if he's dealing with something, I think he's going to be out on the field. I mean, we've seen big time targets deployed as decoys before. Julio Jones comes to mind. Mike Evans has been in that role before.
He scored today.
He did score today. Congrats, by the way, to the Titans. But I don't know. I think Waller's going to be on the field. The production is a bigger issue for me. But I think he's going to see some snaps.
Of course he's going to see some snaps. I know. It's been 5 weeks. Okay, so that being said, you have to be ecstatic to see this 24% ownership projection next to his name on DK. Is that something you would, say to take advantage of?
I'm going to play Jacobs. I don't know how to handle the Renfrow Waller situation.
That's fair.
If he's out there in 100%, yeah, that ownership looks great. But I think I want to see it before It's going to be primarily Jacobs. I think I'm going to find myself underweight on Renfroe and Waller, to be honest, as I'm building out here. There's a couple of interesting options in the Vegas wide receiving core who've had big roles, who, if Waller is out there and productive, are going to take a serious backseat, and that could burn me. But I think I'm primarily going to land on Jacobs and then some of the secondary wide receivers.
Zay Jones falls into that price range, and I think that's who you're probably alluding to, that has been productive. Just from the comments and, well, the snap shares, but the comments from Derek Carr. I remember early, it was the first week of the year, that crazy Baltimore game, and he was like, I love that guy, we're, blah, 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 blah. Like, they prefer Zay Jones to be out there. It seems like he does the things they want him to do. Are you landing on some Zay Jones? I certainly am.
Yeah, no doubt. The price tag is coming up, but if you look at the role over the since Waller's been out, really, and that's what I'm saying, like, Zay Jones might just not get targeted. If Renfroe and Waller are out there earning the targets, Zay Jones is going to be the one that suffers from that. So I guess I'm banking on Waller being out there on the field, but not earning the targets that he typically does. And Zay Jones is the benefactor of that. So yeah, the price is up. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but he could still have a massive role here.
Again, I don't live and die by gridiron IQ, but I find a lot of our numbers fascinating to kind of paint a picture of, right? The tagline is visualize, and that is kind of right. So we have a pretty good marketing ploy there, I suppose. Helps you visualize, the way defenses play things. And if you go on Gridiron IQ, and look at the target matrix, you can see that, as we know, the Chargers really limit things to the outside on defense, which again doesn't bode well for some of those pass catchers, especially if you think Waller is going to place. Even if Waller plays 65%, he has high touchdown equity. I totally get it. They yield the fourth highest target percentage to tight ends. So, I mean, ownership under 30%. The Chargers seem to kind of, play let the middle over the field kind of thing. And if you look at Gridiron IQ, they are the friendliest between targets between 10 and 19 yards. They yield the highest success rate, or the highest allotment of targets between 10 and 19. They're pretty good on the short stuff, pretty good on the long stuff. It's kind of screaming like Darren Waller A. zone here, I think, man.
Yeah, the numbers certainly back that up. And like, Renfroe is kind of in that range too. So right. I think one of Renfroe or Waller are probably going to have a really good game. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm fading them completely, but just getting overweight when I don't know which one to target exactly is where I'm struggling.
Carr really developed. I'm getting into X's and O's things here and not getting analytic at all, but Carr really developed, was forced to develop that chemistry with Renfroe, and it's been really good lately. But that connection he has with Waller is maybe second to none in the league, right? I mean, it's really good. So I do like Waller. I think you can prioritize Jacobs and Waller despite, the little bit of the scary, who knows what kind of shape they're in. I always attack the unknown. Doesn't always pay off. But you can really capitalize when the public's afraid to invest in someone who has killer upside. And both of those guys do. Both kickers are in play too, right? I mean, going to be a close game. Drives could stall out, cat and mouse game. Both teams know each other really well. Hopkins has been pretty good this year too. So I think both kickers are squarely in play. Any comments on kickers or defense?
No, nothing really standing out. Kickers are fine. The lack a little bit of upside. I think I'll be taking more shots on like the Desean Jackson types. The Chargers have a couple of interesting guys down here too, right in the same range. They are slightly more expensive than the kickers, which I think puts the kickers more in play. But Josh Palmer and Jalen Guyton, we've seen both of them have success at different times. Palmer is the one that's interesting to me anyway. It just seems like they favored him here recently. He stepped in when Keenan Allen had COVID or whatever, and started to carve out a little bit of a role here. I think they like him. Guyton is more of like a stretch the field type of guy, where Palmer has a little bit better skill set with route running and things like that. So I do like Josh Palmer as a value play over the kickers, I think.
Yeah. Palmer and Guyton, I figured would be a popular coin flip question. And there's no definitive stats that are like really skewed towards one or the other. But I do agree. I think Palmer is the guy they prefer now, and drafted them to be. So
yeah, and like 4 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said that was the situation, but it seems like ever since Palmer got those opportunities when they were so shorthanded, it seems like he's kind of hung on to that role now that everybody's back.
All right. I guess we should get some questions in the chat here, and we will do the best we can to provide you with the answer. Let me open up Discord here. And all right. Maybe we should, how like Stevie does the morning grind game. Maybe we can start incorporating the guessing the snap share game, because I feel like
I like it.
Someone's, hopefully not next year, but this year it was someone's coming off the COVID list, someone's not conditioned, on top of all the injuries. It was just chaos here. Yeah, anything else you want to circle back on quick before we jump into the chat here?
Just Waller's price. Like, Waller is full priced here. That's why I'm struggling. That's what's holding his ownership down as well. I don't know. You just figure he missed so much time that you might be getting a little bit of a discount, but he's pretty much full price. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit.
For sure. By the way, I know Eric's in chat. Congrats on the live final seat, buddy. I saw your tweet, so that's awesome. Have fun in New Orleans. I've never been. Let me have a couple drinks from me and let me know what it's all about down there.
Yeah, awesome. Congrats, man.
Yeah, awesome. See one of our guys in the Discord getting it done. Okay, Carolina guy asked FanDuel GPP favorite contrarian MVP. I think we got that Carolina guy. If you missed it, we both think Jacobs has super touchdown equity, and Derek Carr obviously is the lesser owned quarterback based on ownership. Obviously Herbert is the favorite raw point guy, right, Keith? Are we still on that train of thought?
Yep, that's where we're at. And then just like super deep field, Mike Williams was the other one that is like really low owned who we threw.
That'd be a nice like 2% bomb to throw in the $9 or whatever the big one is. I can get behind that. All right. Eckler captain figures to be chalky. You think Eckler will hold as the chalkiest captain tonight on DK? Is that what we're looking at? Hold on, let me bring it back up.
I think Herbert's going to come in with more ownership because Eckler is more expensive. I think Herbert is higher owned than Eckler in the captain for sure.
Yeah, I know people like that ceiling, although it is close on lineup HQ. But I get it. A lot of RB2 talk, Peyton Barber talk here. Should we talk about some Peyton Barber?
Yeah, I always love RB2 on showdown slates, but I'm not super thrilled with Peyton Barber. He's not the most talented running back, and the role hasn't been great. He's not seeing more than a handful of touches. Hasn't been over 6 rushing attempts or 2 targets. So it's just tough for me to get behind that. I think between Barber and Jackson, even though Jackson is significantly more expensive, I would lean Jackson.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Let's see. I don't see a ton more questions here. Devin, am I missing any questions? Just want to make sure I'm all caught up. I think we're good so far.
Yep, I think it's just general discussion going on.
Okay. Got any interception calls for us while we're kicking the tires on some things?
I don't like it tonight, but I think if you had to twist my arm, I could see maybe the Raiders getting an interception. Herbert trying to pass a bunch, throws one over, but not in love with it tonight. No.
Okay, that's fair. It's a tough game to call. It really is.
I do think I mentioned this in Discord. I do think trying to be a little over on both Barber and Moreau is probably smart, though. Just everybody, you mentioned Waller's price tag. Moreau. What is Moreau's ownership? I know Barber was going under the radar.
He's like sub 15. He's like 12% Moreau, and I think that's generous. Especially with some of the unknown. I think he'll get some run. I thought he'd be like more like 4K. So I was happy to see that, and the ownership's kind of in check. Okay, what's our confidence level here in Desean Jackson hitting the home run? Like, how high is the outcome here?
The outcome is not high, but the price tag is extremely attractive. It's something I'm overweight on. I like it. They're gonna attempt it. You know that. He's seen 3 targets in each of the last 3 games, 5 targets in the middle one. I mean, at what is he, 1.4K? I think he was 1.4K. That one long 40-yard touchdown is probably all you need. So I'm going to chase it a little bit. But as far as the likeliness of it happening, not very likely.
No, I agree, but that's who he is. And typically when he's on these slates, he's 15-20% because I feel like he's always getting traded to a new team or something, or people know the home run upside. And oh wait, I'm looking at captain ownership. Dummy Luch, you did too many shows today. Hold on. Yeah, 12 or 15%. That's pretty much exactly what I said. So yeah, I guess that's about right. I mean, we've seen slates where he was this price and he was double that, right? He had a solidified role, but it's not the case here. He might be on the field for 12 snaps, but like you said, 40-yard bomb, and you're good to go. Bryan Edwards, he's probably the top candidate to be lost in the sauce here, I think. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, he just
like I'm sorry, in terms of with Waller back, he might be just odd man out is what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything for me anyway. Like he hasn't shown the ability to separate at the NFL level. Like he's had a random touchdown here or there, but like outside of that, he hasn't shown us anything really. So especially with Waller back, he's going to lose snaps, I think. Yeah, I'm not chasing that one. I much prefer the upside of Jackson catching a long bomb over Edwards coming out and catching like 3 or 4 balls and then being in there and inside the 5 and then throwing a fade to him or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. 8-12 guys, thanks for sticking with us here. I think I talked so much in the beginning that I'm kind of like slowly running out of steam here. I do think Justin Jackson is fascinating. I mean, there's Eckler on his way back. I mean, he's back, but he might, he's not gonna play 90% of the snaps probably. They want to play Justin Jackson inside the 10, right? Like, there's some ridiculous outcome where Eckler produces and Justin Jackson gets the 10 carries for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? Like, that's where he wants to be utilized. That's what makes him unique to me. Do you have any thoughts on, like, am I out of line there in saying that that's possible?
I think that's definitely possible. Eckler is never a guy that they've wanted to run out there for 85% of the snaps. He's going to be in that 60 to 70% range. And earlier on in the season, they were like Josh Kelly was involved, but you really haven't seen that recently. Justin Jackson has clearly separated from Josh Kelly. And I think that's what makes him more attractive. Like, we don't have to guess whether Jackson or Kelly is going to be the change of pace guy or the guy that might get a couple of goal line carries. We know it's Jackson at this point.
Yeah, and he seemed to earn that trust. Like you said, that was big. There was a point in time where, when Eckler was out, it was like an even split, even dating back to last year between Jackson and Kelly, and that has changed. You can see on lineup HQ the volume that Jackson was getting without Eckler, and he can, he gets it done in the pass game too. So he's not just a one-trick pony. So I think Jackson is interesting for GPPs. Let's see. Let me just scroll down the list here. You have some of these. I know it's year of the tight end, and you have Steven Anderson, who 1 week he plays special teams and no real snaps, and just some odd and end type players here. And with Jared Cook back, it's harder to play a guy like Steven Anderson. I do like Jared Cook tonight. A fair price tag. Revenge game. I don't mind Jared Cook. Like, he doesn't have a super high ceiling, but if what's the total is pretty low for this one. He doesn't need 20 points to be optimal. What's your Jared Cook take if you have one?
I don't really have one. Like you said, just lacks ceiling. Haven't really seen the touchdown equity that he's displayed in the past. So I don't love him. He's fine if he fits. Like, as a value, like mid range, like he's a pivot from Justin Jackson maybe, but you don't get an ownership discount on it really. He's fine, but I'm not in love with it.
Eric wants to run a kicker at captain. I told him Janikowski's good from 70. Listen, man, I guess it's Hopkins gun to head just because he's been better this year. But hey, that 1% kicker, we see it happen once or maybe twice every year. I just feel like this probably won't be the game. But what do I know? I don't know.
There's too much talent, in my opinion, on these offenses for that to, like, I don't know.
Look, I'm voting for chaos. All right, I want to see 4 quarters of kneeling.
I mean,
unprecedented primetime television.
Then you might see a kicker captain.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like no quarterback would be optimal if they're just kneeing the ball the whole game. They'd lose so many yards, right? So
what a wild night that would be for DFS.
We've dealt with a lot of unprecedented things this year, so nothing would surprise me.
Bring it on.
what were the odds that the Colts just laid a gigantic egg against the Jaguar? I could not believe it. That just made the whole day more interesting because you had Pittsburgh going to overtime with Baltimore. Just incredible. Another incredible week. I mean, this has been a phenomenal season, and I thank you guys for sticking with us. Devin, do we have a schedule? Are we going to keep doing these shows?
Yeah, we can touch on that real quick. Let me pull it up. I know we have a pre-lock show for each of the Sunday and Saturday slates, as well as a premium lineup HQ video for each of them. I think that's the basic idea for any of the days that we have slates. We'll have a lineup HQ for premium members, and then we'll have a pre-lock show like this, beginning of the first game each day.
That sounds good. Wild card weekend looks awesome. Busy. There's 3 games Saturday, 2 Sunday, and 1 Monday night. So, and I'm sure DraftKings will have decent prize pools for all of the games, and I'm sure there'll be a hammer prize pool, and Saturday, Sunday, and Monday probably. It's going to be fun.
Should be
fun. For sure. I hope we get one big slate where, like, I know they don't like to spread it out over 3 days anymore, but if they did one big, like, I know it's not going to be the biggest prize pools of the weekend, but hopefully there's something decent for all 3 of those days. That'd be fun.
Yeah, or like that'd be a pretty good like a 2-day slate at least. Like Saturday, Sunday, 5 games. That's a decent slate, right?
Yep.
Why not? Yeah, I guess that's really it on my end. I mean, I'm surprised I was able to talk through some of these shows on the really ugly games we had. But I appreciate all you guys for sticking with us, and again, thank you guys for sure. Yeah, Eric, you're a little out of control, but I love the chaos. Go for it. Go for the 1% kicker. You'll be alone at the top of the mountain. Maybe just play both kicks, same core, different kicker. Hedge yourself a little bit there. You'll be kicking yourself if Carlson hits 6 field goals tonight, and it's the worst primetime game we've seen this year as possible, but unlikely.
I mean, you say it already, right? Out of all the games we've seen on these showdown slates, let's cap it off with something weird.
I mean, why not? It's been a weird 1.5, 2 years. But this should be a good one. Do we have a score prediction? Can we get a score prediction in since we don't have any questions? Keith, what are you thinking here?
Oh, let's go. I'm gonna go with my Vegas leads and pulls it out. Give me Vegas 24, Chargers 21.
How many touchdowns does Darren Waller catch, though?
Well, Jacobs needs 2 of them, so okay. There's only 1 left for him at least. But yeah, I'm gonna go Jacobs 2 touchdowns, and I need Desean Jackson to catch that 40-yard one too. So none left for Waller. Sorry.
All right, Dev, score prediction time. Let's get it.
I definitely like the under.
Ooh, bonus from Devin. Bonus picks.
I think we'll go. I like what Keith's saying, but I don't think they get up that high. Let's go like 14-17 Chargers win.
Wow, that's a good one. These are 2 of the more impossible teams to figure. I know there's so much parity, but every time I buy into one of these teams, it's like you take 1 step forward, 2 back. That's why I think this is going to be such a good game.
Yeah, and the Chargers always seem to like get out to a lead too, and then let the other team back. Like they'll be up 10 or 14 points, and then you look up and the score's tied. Like they just love to do that.
it's like they don't have the kill shot, right? They don't have the
Yep.
finish them, the ground and pound, whatever it is. So I think I think it's a 3-point game. Hopefully it's the kicker that Eric has in his lineup. And I think the Chargers hold on, but I can see Vegas getting up early and the Chargers clawing back in this one. So I'll take Chargers 24-21.
Nice.
That's it. 8:20, guys. That's it. We're at lock.
We made it.
Made it through that one.
Final lock of the regular season.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. We appreciate you, Devin. Thanks for long season for you. How many shows, if you had a guesstimate, I know you can figure it out. How many shows do you think you do a season, produce?
In a season, man, it would have to be probably like, wow, several, like a couple hundred, maybe 300, 400 if I had to guess, just like off the top of my head. But it's been a while since I did that count.
Well, we appreciate you, man. I know you're busy. Go get some rest and get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, these Sundays have been turned into a fun marathon of DFS and football and shows. So I've begun to enjoy these, going straight into these showdown slates here at night, doing little parlays, tight end touchdowns. It's been a fun season.
Absolutely. Hey, what's up, Mark? Thanks for sticking with us this year too. Keith, anything else before we get out of here? I know we'll be back on at some point. Thanks to Devin's info, so probably next weekend sometime. But until then, Keith, any last words till next week?
No, I don't have anything. Still waiting on some NBA news, I think. So we got to keep an eye on that. Should be a fun football game. Looking forward to it.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys and all you guys who tune in every week, guys and gals. We appreciate you all. So for Devin and Keith, I'm Justin. Good luck tonight, everybody, and enjoy your week.